Hello, good evening. The government's threatening a suspension of the Northern Ireland Protocol to put pressure on the EU. Northern Ireland's encountered severe difficulties getting goods from Great Britain because of the requirements that the Brexit deal has placed upon businesses and the extra paperwork now required. Today, the Prime Minister said he'd be ready to override the agreement implemented just over a month ago to prevent barriers of any kind between Great Britain and Northern Ireland. He pointed the finger at Brussels for threatening to trigger Article 16 late last week over the export of vaccines, a move it hastily reversed. Well, today, the Democratic Unionist Party, which opposes the new checks, told the PM he was turning citizens into foreigners within their own country. So is this the beginning of the end of the Northern Ireland Protocol? What else happens if this goes? Here's Nick Watt. Nick Watt there. Well, joining us now, the DUP MP Ian Paisley Jr., who you saw briefly in the report, Conservative MP John Penrose and Eamon Ryan, the Irish Transport Minister. Welcome to you both. Ian Paisley, can I just ask you to spell out for us the problems that you're encountering briefly at home in Northern Ireland now?
Well, good evening, Emily. Well, first of all, I must...
You've got what you asked for. Michael Gove says at the end of the letter to the EU Commission, we cannot have technical solutions here. It's got to be political. So all that talk, 3-4 years of saying we just had to find creative technical solutions to this now, is completely out the water. Presumably the people who are endorsing that are now apologising to the people of Northern Ireland.
No, I mean, I think the important point is...
And I think the EU recognised it was a colossal mistake, rode back very quickly, and sense that there is a certain level of opportunism coming through now from the UK government. You heard Anna Menon, that report, saying this is based on a distant relationship. This is the cumulative effect of a distant relationship. And actually, if it's based on trust, then you get trust. And if it's based on a sense that each side's trying to get out of it, then you end up in a mess like this.
Well, I would...
Gentlemen, good of you all to join us this evening. Thank you very much indeed. Britain's top 100 companies are still struggling to reach the target set in 2016 to improve ethnic diversity at senior level. The Parker report published today showed that the number of black people at the top of Britain's largest listed FTSE 100 companies has fallen to 0. That means there are no black chairs, chief executives or finance chiefs for the first time in the last 6 years. That's according to Green Park Consultancy, who carried out the research. Fewer than 1 in 10 leaders at present comes from a minority background, a fall in black representation from 1.4% down to 0.9%. Well, joining me now, Dr. Doyen Atewologun, an organisational psychologist who's been working on this same study in previous years. And Dr. Atewologun, clearly there is a problem here, but why do you think it's getting worse?
It is really done.
When you say black and minority ethnic, this is more specifically a black problem, is it? Because you have more representation of Asian communities and other minority ethnic.
I'm glad.
To COVID news, the government's confirmed it's unlikely schools in England will reopen before the 8th of March, even though the vaccination schedule is ahead of target. Health Secretary Matt Hancock suggested that COVID-19 deaths will start to come down in numbers, but insisted it would be safer for the government to stick to its existing timetable with schools. Lewis Goodall is here. Just talk us through what... Thanks for putting it into context, Lewis. Thanks very much. Well, whilst those cases and hospitalisations, have you seen, starting to go down here, in many European countries, it's heading the other way. They've been soaring in Portugal and Spain, and the British variant, that more contagious version of COVID, is driving that increase. Mark Urban has been looking at the strategies other governments are using to combat it. Mark Urban there. Now, how do we define victims of racism? How do we assume to know who belongs to an ethnic minority? And how do those who think of themselves as progressive decide who they will fight to protect? In his latest book, Jews Don't Count, David Baddiel, comedian, writer, self-described on Twitter by the single word Jew, argues that anti-Semitism is often the forgotten racism, that people who would tolerate no form of any other kind somehow fail to apply the same standards to prejudice against Jewish people. He joins me now to explain. David, you've written that a sacred circle is drawn around those whom the progressive modern left are prepared to go into battle for, and it seems as if Jews aren't in it. What do you mean by that?
Well, what I mean is...
Yeah, you write that Jews don't suffer from being considered different, and raise a really interesting question about Jews as an ethnic minority. Would you describe yourself as, I mean, it's a sort of crass word or acronym, BAME, but black minority ethnic? Or, I mean, would you use a phrase like that? Or do you see yourself as white?
That you've had previously.
Thanks for joining us. Just before we go, we're going to take you through some of the front pages. The Daily Telegraph has Rishi Sunak concerned that the scientists are moving the goalposts on lockdown, going back to some of the graphs you've just been seeing with Lewis there. Scrap the useless Northern Ireland Protocol, urges Arlene Foster, as Johnson threatens the EU. The Guardian has coughing risks to NHS staff greater than feared. And a picture of the director, one of 3 female directors now vying for a top award. And 10 million people have had the first dose of the vaccine. And the Times has got Britain's now past its peak of second COVID wave, and the family of Captain Sir Tom Moore there. Also a carbon tax to raise meat, cheese and gas heating prices for consumers on the way. That is all from us, but thanks for being with us tonight. Thanks for watching. See you soon, and bye-bye.